After years of no fighting, Umar now adopted a new offensive policy. The whole-scale invasion of the Sassanid Empire was to begin. The Battle of Nihawand was one of the most decisive battles in Islamic history. The battle proved to be the key to Persia. After the devastating defeat at Nihawand, the last Sassanid emperor, Yazdgerd III, fled to different parts of Persia to raise a new army. Umar would now try to capture or kill Yazdegerd III. Strategic planning for the conquest of Persia. Umar decided to strike the Persians immediately after their defeat at Nihawand, when he had gained a psychological advantage over them. Umar had to decide which of the following three to conquer first: Fars in the south, Azerbaijan in the north, or Isfahan in the center. Umar chose Isfahan, as it was the heart of the Persian Empire and a conduit for supply and communication lines between Sassanid garrisons in various Persian provinces. In other words, capturing Isfahan would isolate Fars and Azerbaijan from Khurasan. After having captured the heartland of Persia, that is Fars and Isfahan, the next attacks would be simultaneously launched against Azerbaijan, the northwestern province, and Sistan, the most eastern province of the Persian Empire. The conquest of those provinces would leave Khurasan, the stronghold of Emperor Yazdegerd III, isolated and vulnerable. In the last phase of this campaign, Khurasan was to be attacked, completing the conquest of Sassanid Persia. The plan was formulated and preparations were completed by January 642. The success of plan depended upon how effectively Umar would be able to coordinate these attacks from Medina, about 1,000 miles from the battlefields in Persia, and upon the skills and abilities of his field commanders. Umar appointed his best field commanders to conquer the Sassanid Empire and bring down his most formidable foe, Yazdegerd III. The campaign saw a different pattern in command structure. Instead of appointing a single field commander to campaign across the Persian lands, Umar appointed several commanders, each assigned a different mission. Once the mission would end, the commander would become an ordinary soldier under the command of the new field commander for the latter's mission. The purpose of this strategy was to allow commanders to mix in with their soldiers and to remind them that they are like everyone else. Command is only given to those most competent, and once the battle is over, the commander returns to his previous position. In 638, fearing Khalid's growing power and popularity, Umar dismissed him when he was at the zenith of his military career. While able to rebel against the dismissal, Khalid chose not to. In 642, at the eve of the conquest of Persia, Umar, wanting to give a moral boost to his troops, decided to reinstall Khalid as new field commander against Persia. Khalid's reputation as the conqueror of eastern Roman provinces demoralized Persian commanders, most of whom had already been defeated by Khalid during his conquest of Mesopotamia in 633. Umar wanted a decisive victory early in the campaign to boost the morale of his troops, while demoralizing the Persians. Before Umar could issue orders of reappointment, Khalid, residing in Emesa, died. In various campaigns in Persia, Umar even appointed the commanders of the wings, the center, and the cavalry of the army. Umar strictly instructed his commanders to consult him before making any decisive move in Persia. All the commanders, before starting their assigned campaigns, were instructed to send a detailed report of the geography and terrain of the region and the position of the Persian garrisons, forts, cities and troops in it. Umar then would send them a detailed plan of how he wanted this region to be captured. Only the tactical issues were left to the field commanders to be tackled in accordance with the situation they faced at their fronts. Umar appointed the best available and well-reputed commanders for the campaign. The preparation and planning of the conquest of the Persian Empire was completed by early 642. Umar appointed Abdullah ibn Uthman, commander of the Muslim forces, to invade Isfahan. From Nihawand, Numan marched to Hamadan, which was already in Muslim hands. Once Hamadan was captured, Numan marched 230 miles southeast against the city Isfahan and defeated an Sasanian army under the command of Yazdgerd III and other notable Sasanian generals. Yazdgerd III, along with another Sasanian general, was killed during the battle. After his victory at Isfahan, he laid siege to the city, There the Muslim army was reinforced by fresh troops from Basra and Kufa under the command of Abu Musa Ash'ari and Anaf ibn Qais. The siege continued for a few months and finally the city surrendered. In 651, Nu'aym marched northeast to Ray, Iran, about 200 miles from Hamadan, and laid siege to the city, which surrendered after fierce resistance. Nu'aym then marched 150 miles northeast towards Qom, which was captured without much resistance. This was the outermost boundary of the Isfahan region. Further northeast of it was Khurasan, and southeast of it lay Sistan. Meanwhile, Hamadan and Ray had rebelled. Umar sent Nu'aym ibn Muqarrin, brother of late Nu'man ibn Muqarrin, who was the Muslim commander at Nihawand, to crush the rebellion and to clear the westernmost boundaries of Isfahan. Nu'aym marched towards Hamadan from Isfahan. A bloody battle was fought and Hamadan was recaptured by the Muslims. Nu'aym next moved to Ray. There too the Persians resisted and were defeated outside the fort, and the city was recaptured by the Muslims. The Persian citizens sought for peace and agreed to pay the jizya. From Ray, Nu'aym moved north towards Tabaristan, which lay south of the Caspian Sea. The ruler of Tabaristan then signed a peace treaty with the Caliphate. Conquest of southern Persia, Fars. With Isfahan firmly in Muslim hands, the conquest of Fars began about the same time that the conquest of Tabaristan was started. The first army to penetrate Fars was under the command of Maha ibn Masud. His objective was Sabah. Maha marched from Basra to Tawah, where Persian forces halted their forces and were defeated in a quick battle that followed. From Tawah, Maha moved to Sabah, which was a fortified town. The siege continued for a few weeks, after which the city surrendered and the usual terms of the jizya were enforced upon it. With the conquest of Sabah, Maha ibn Masud's mission was over. Reinforcement came under the command of Uthman ibn Abilas, who took over the command of Maha's army. Uthman's objective was the ancient Persian capital city of Persepolis. Uthman marched from Tawah to Shiraz, which surrendered peacefully. From Shiraz, Uthman moved 35 miles north to Persepolis and laid siege to the historic Persian city. The siege lasted for several weeks before the city surrendered. Uthman's mission was over at Persepolis. Here again a change of command occurred. The mission to capture the eastern districts of Fasa and Darab was given to Sariya ibn Zunium, who moved 80 miles southeast to capture Fasa and then Darab, 60 miles from Fasa after resistance from local Persian garrisons. With this last successful expedition, the conquest of Fars was completed by late 642. Further east of Fars lay Kerman and Sistan. A simultaneous campaign was launched against eastern, Sistan and Baluchistan, southern, Kerman and Makran, and northwestern, Azerbaijan, Persia. The expedition to Kerman was sent roughly at the same time when the expeditions to Sistan and Azerbaijan were sent. Suhail ibn Adi was given command of this expedition. Suhail marched from Basra in 643, passing from Shiraz and Persepolis he joined with other Muslim armies and marched against Kerman, which was subdued after a pitched battle with local garrisons. Further east of Kerman lay Makran in what is now a part of present-day Pakistan. It was the domain of the Hindu king of Razil, Sindh. The Rai dynasty dominions were vast, extending from Kashmir and Kanauj to Kandar and Sistan and on the west to Makran and a part of Dibble, while on the south to Surat their capital was Alor, and during their rule Sindh was divided into 4 provinces, Bahmanabad, Siwistan, Chachpur, which comprised the greater part of Bahawalpur division, and the province consisting of Multan and West Punjab. The Raja of Razil concentrated huge armies from Sindh and Baluchistan to halt the advance of the Muslims. Suhail was reinforced by Usman ibn Abilas from Persepolis, and Hakam ibn Amr from Basra. The combined forces defeated Raja Razil at the Battle of Razil, who retreated to the eastern bank of the river Indus. Further east from the Indus River lay Sindh. Umar, after knowing that Sindh was a poor and relatively barren land, disapproved Suhail's proposal to cross the Indus River. For the time being, Umar declared the Indus River, a natural barrier, to be the easternmost frontier of his domain. This campaign came to an end in mid-644.